This is the hardcore icon, Just Incredible. You're listening to I Hate This podcast on the Wiretap Radio Network.
You hear the clock ticking, tick tock. You about to stop living, tick tock. I want you to remember me, tick tock. But the dead don't have no memory. I'm coming. Nobody can stop me, nobody can hold me, nobody control me. I'm coming. I'm here to do my thing, I'm here to bring the pain. I'm never ever gonna change. I'm coming. Nobody can stop me, nobody can hold me, nobody control me. I'm coming. I'm here to do my thing, I'm here to bring the pain. I'm never ever gonna change. Like Tropicana, I got the juice. All for the least, they let the dog loose. Don't make me call up the crew. Now they getting scared, wanna call up a truce. I'm the one like Neo, cocky like Teal. Nobody can guard me like I'm shooting a free throw. This is illegal, my flow is legal. And it's me, it will never be a sequel. See, I'm fly like a
What's up, everybody? I'm Jack Stevens, your co-host, and welcome to I Hate This podcast. Joined as always by Just Incredible. How you doing, brother?
I'm doing great, brother. How you doing?
I am living the dream, buddy. Hey, today on I Hate This podcast, we have a very special guest. Former IWGP Intercontinental Champion, former WWE Tag Team Champion, former WWE United States Champion. He's half man, half amazing, always entertaining, MVP. How you doing today, bud?
I'm doing exceptionally well, and I want to thank you for first introducing me as a former IWGP Intercontinental Champion. For those that know me, I've always said that WWE was a goal, but working in Japan for New Japan was a dream. So while being a United States champion and a WWE Tag Team champion are huge, huge honors in my career, and I don't downplay them at all, being that my dream was to wrestle in Japan, knowing that the legacy of the prestigious IWGP Intercontinental Championship starts with me is probably my, man. Now that I'm thinking about it, I'm thinking, well, wait a minute. I did beat Benoit for the U.S. title, and he was my favorite wrestler and part of the reason that, I was really into Japanese wrestling. So, the U.S. title and IWGP title. Okay. Thank you for acknowledging the IWGP Intercontinental Championship first.
Brother, listen, I'm so grateful you're here with us, and you've done so many amazing things, and I'm just your career has been really, I mean, it's uncanny. You're such an amazing athlete. Like I said, you started in the game, if I'm not mistaken, in 2005 with the developmental league. I think you were like Deep South Wrestling, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, Deep South, right?
Yeah, and you really, I mean, man, you were a natural for the game. You had so much charisma, so much athletic ability. Could you kind of just let the fans know and let the people know, like, what was your instinct coming into the game in 2005? Like, kind of what brought you in, and we'll go from there because you have such a storied career.
Well, I'll take you back a little further than that. It was in 2005 that I signed with WWE, and I got called up in 2006. But
okay.
I don't know what I'm about to tell you if you're familiar with this, but I think you will be very amused. It's no secret. People know that I've done time. And it was while I was in prison. Actually, I was at work release, about to get out. And there was a correctional officer, Officer Davis, who was also an independent wrestler, who worked as Primetime Daryl D. And he used to bring in VHS tapes of his independent shows and pay-per-views. And we get a chance to watch them before they would let us out in the morning to go to work. And, I was a fan of wrestling. My mom used to take me to the Miami Beach Convention Center in the 70s to watch Florida Championship Wrestling. So, wrestling, being from Florida, I grew up with wrestling. But I never had any desire to become a wrestler. I was always a fan. And, one day I asked Officer Davis, a.k.a. Primetime, like, hey, man, how do you guys really do that shit without breaking each other's necks, And he was like, well, man, I see you out there playing basketball. You're pretty athletic, got some size, good-looking dude, man. When you get out, if you want to learn, I'll teach you. And I was like, yeah, well, shit, I need a hobby, something to keep me out of trouble. But it was at that point that I really started paying attention to wrestling again. And I used to listen to a lot of talk radio. And late at night, there was some, I think it was like Wrestle Talk America or something like that. And everybody kept calling in asking about ECW. When is ECW going to be available in my area? ECW. And they, and the two hosts kept saying, yeah, just a little while longer, we're going to have on ECW World Heavyweight Champion Taz. And I had no idea what ECW was. And I've been locked up almost a decade at this point. So finally, Taz comes on. I don't know what Taz looks like. I just hear that thick Red Hook Canarsie accent. And man, he's just fucking clowning on people and shit. And I'm like, I have no idea who this dude is, but I'm already a fan. And everybody's just raving about ECW. And I'm like, man, that shit sounds pretty cool, And then ECW got the syndication deal, and suddenly they were available on TV. I want to say it was like the Nashville Network or
TNN. Yeah, it was TNN. Right. Yeah.
And here's some crazy shit. So at the Work Release Center on Saturday nights, I used to go to Alcoholics Anonymous just to get the fuck out of the center. And because right across the street from AA, there was this cool Chinese food spot. So I'd fucking risk getting in trouble, deviating, running over there to get some Chinese food. Then I'd run back across the street to the AA meeting.
Amen, brother.
When they would pick us up and take us back to the Work Release Center, they put us in the day room because usually by the time we got back, they'd be in the middle of a count. So they put all of us in the day room, and there was a rule in the Florida prison system that if a television program was in progress, you couldn't vote to change the channel. And I'd be in there and I'd put it on TNN, and I started for the very first time watching ECW.
Oh, wow.
And now keep in mind, I got locked up in 90. This is like 98. Yeah, it's 98. I'm seeing ECW. So I haven't seen wrestling for nearly a decade. Last time I saw wrestling, I was at DeSoto Correctional in the early 90s. And, it was fucking Lex slam Yokozuna on the battleship. You know what I'm saying?
Right,
I hadn't seen wrestling since then. And all of a sudden, I'm watching ECW. And I remember very clearly going, what the fuck is wrestling? What is this shit, man? And when count cleared, dudes came in and, guys, oh, man, we don't want to watch that fake ass shit, that old wrestling bullshit. And I'm like, dude, you touch that channel, we gonna fight, man. Fuck.
Yeah.
And guys would bitch him, but there's nothing they could do because when we would come back from AA, like they'd be in count. So by the time they came out of count, I already had the channel on. They couldn't change it.
Right.
So that first couple of nights, dudes were bitching and moaning and, man, we don't want to watch that shit. I'm telling you, by the end of the month, maybe 6 weeks, it was fucking standing room only in the day room.
Oh,
every seat was filled. Every motherfucker was standing up. Like everybody was watching ECW. And you could see everybody was invested. Super Crazy and Sabu and Joey Styles. Oh my God! So wrestling had changed so much, and this was the Monday Night Wars were coming to an end when I got out, and at that point I was just like, yeah, so I'm gonna start doing this shit. Yeah, okay, yeah, fuck it, I'm in. Fuck yeah. So for me, the Impact players, dude, you with the fucking, with the kendo stick and, seeing all the guys. And, I was just like, yo, this shit is crazy. I want to be a part of this. And very early on in my career, when I was still, a real green indie guy, I got to meet and I was befriended by the Extreme Shaw, Hack Myers, rest in power.
Yeah.
And, he and I got to be really, really close. And, my first steps in pro wrestling were in 2000. I got home in 99. I started training in 2000 at Duke the Dumpster's wrestling school.
Oh, okay. You knew so you came up with Mike. Okay, that's awesome, dude.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. That's cool.
Yeah. Yeah, he had a little fucking warehouse and just one of those strip warehouse, in a little industrial area in Opelika. But Mike was never there. Soul Man Alex G, who used to be with Global, one of the Soul Patrol, he had taken over as head trainer. And Primetime, the correctional officer who I met, he started training me in his backyard, and then he had to take his ring down. So he brought me over to Duke School and asked Alex to train me as a favor. And that's how I started wrestling school. And from that point, I'd say, that was like spring of 2000.
Yeah.
And then I got signed by WWE October 2005.
Wow. I mean, that's such an amazing story. And it just like, if you don't mind me saying, dude, it's such a great testament to the power of not it. All right, I'm going to be very biased. The power of pro wrestling, because it is, it's an amazing escape. It's an amazing thing for us, as fans. I was a fan too, as early as I could remember. Like I remember, and I know you can. Like I had, I came from like a kind of a poor family, and I had in '83, I had a black and white TV with rabbit ears, and I know a lot of people don't know what the kids don't know what rabbit ears are, but the antennas to get the feed. And the first thing I ever watched was when Hulk Hogan dropped the leg on Iron Sheik on a black and white television, to win the WWF championship. And then from that moment on, I was like, dude, I'm in. And from that moment, it's like, for good, for bad, or for worse, I'm like, this is what I'm going to do, and it's such a cool story to hear you say that. And, it's actually, and I want to talk to you about this later, but that dude, it sounds like that corrections officer was a pretty good dude, because I was in the system as well, and I didn't spend as long a time as you, obviously, not even close. I'm not even going to front, but any time is not good time. And I
dude, I say all the time, people say, oh man, I was locked up, not as long as you, but dude, one day.
But it's scary. It's scary. It was
one day is one day too many.
Yeah. And it was, it changed, but it does change your life. You realize like, holy shit, I mean, when, it's like, it's no joke. And just for somebody to kind of be there at the afterwards, because, when I went, and again, I don't want to focus on this, but when I was there, like everybody knew I was just incredible. So I was getting ribbed in the gimmick, you know what I mean? Like, oh, well, you're a fucking, you know what I mean? You're at it. You're a piece of shit, dude. You're in here with us, So it was like not a good deal. But anyways, it sounds like that gentleman was actually very positive, and doing that is really kind of cool. And it kind of, I don't know, just opened it up to what is good about pro wrestling. And it's just, I don't know. To me, it's just an amazing journey that you took onto the business so quick. I mean, you're really, if you think about it, it takes people, you've heard the gimmicks and the stories. It takes 10 years to just get your feet wet. And you came in like a ball of fucking fire. You caught on. You were right there. You were as smart and as good as anybody in the game, and as quick of a learner as anybody in the game. And, and how did that, was that just your instincts, your passion? I mean, I know you're a hell of an athlete, but you really took to professional wrestling from a physical and athletic and a creative standpoint, like very few have. You know what I mean? Like you got a deal almost out the gate, brother. You really did. You got a deal almost out the gate comparatively to what other dudes, putting time in. You were a very talented dude. Was that just like, creative drive, like all that, you know what I mean?
Well, I've always been a creative person. Like when I was a little kid, I always had like a crazy imagination, and when I was in prison, I'd done a few little plays, and I've written lyrics. I've got some rap music that I did, and right now I'm working on a hardcore band. So for me, creativity has always been just a part of who I am, and I've always been a fan of wrestling. So as soon as I had the opportunity to learn pro wrestling, the old saying, I took to it like a fish to water, and I discovered very quickly how good I could be at it. And so I was lucky that when I came into the game, the Monday Night Wars were hot, and at that point, everybody wanted to be a wrestler. And when I started, there were like 30 dudes at the wrestling school, and when Alex took over, after like 6 weeks, when he said, hey, look, he was trained by the Malenkos. And he said, hey, all right, no more playing wrestler. This is going to be a real wrestling school. And dude, like after a month, over half the dudes quit because it wasn't just show up, play, wrestle, and I would watch ECW and I watched Raw and SmackDown, and I hadn't even been introduced to Japanese wrestling yet. And, I was lucky that I had guys that, were veterans in the game who told me like, hey, kid, aside from the fact that they were good teachers, they told me like, hey, kid, you got a shot at this, man. You can do something. And I remember Rocky Johnson used to come around when he moved to South Florida. And, he started coming by and he would train us and hang out with us. So we all got to go backstage, and it was the first time I had ever been to a Monday Night Raw. And I was standing just to the side of the ramp with my trainer, Alex G. And I remember feeling the energy from the crowd and The Rock came out and he cut a promo and he had a quick match. And, there was this almost tangible energy. And I looked over at Alex and I said, I'm going to do this for a living. And Alex looked at me and he said, if anybody can, you can. And at that moment I said, all right, I'm devoting myself to this career path. And, I did what, like so many fucking pro wrestlers do. I worked in nightclubs and I bounced and, did all that shit. And, I tell people like there was a point in Florida, if you were an independent wrestler on the Florida indie scene and you were buying gas, you bought it from me or you bought it from the twins. I used to sell weed and steroids to support my wrestling habit.
Yes, sir.
Because I'm driving all over the state for $25, $50, like gas money and food and all that whole deal. But I knew that it was what I wanted to do. And I knew that I was good at it because, the guys who came before me, my mentors, they told me I was good at it, and, I just put my heart and soul into it. And, I finally, I went to Puerto Rico. I got to wrestle in Puerto Rico for a few months. So while I was over there, me and Sabu got to be pretty tight. And when I came back, I finally got a chance to get booked as an extra and had a few dark matches. And one day, I cornered Johnny Ace and I'm like, yo, tell me what I got to do to get hired, man. Like, what's the deal? What do you need? And he said, we like you. We just don't have anything for you. Come up with something we don't already have and get back with me. And I used to do all the bouncing and I'd see all these pro athletes show up that, were fucking with their entourage, acting like the world owed them shit. And I would see legitimate legends like Dr. J and Shaq, and Jim Brown and Barry Sanders. Like these dudes would come through humble, nice, cool as hell. And then I'd see like some douchebag who was a third round draft pick for the Dolphins showing up like everybody should kiss his ass.
Right.
The light bulb came on. Ding. Like, wait a minute, man, that hasn't been done yet.
Yeah. I mean, it's that's a huge thing, though, and that's the thing is that I get from this story, because a lot of this I've known a lot of your story, but this part I've never heard, and it's intriguing because you really had that passion, that drive, and you had your head in the game from day one. You knew, like, that's a lot of things. A lot of these kids, and I just want to say real quick before we get back to it, but like these kids, like everybody wants to be a wrestler, and now we're getting into wrestling resurgence where it's very popular again. It's in the mainstream, but these, a lot of the young kids don't have the ability to give something what it takes. Like, and I mentioned a tweet yesterday that you actually liked, and you had a response where I got, and I'm not going to say who it was, but I got big leagued by somebody, and it hurt my feelings because I've been in the business for 25 years, paid my dues, started in the game in 1992, came up through the old WWF into the old the new ECW, the new WWE many times, blah blah.
Dude, wait, just don't lose your train of thought. But I very, very clearly remember the Portuguese Man of War, man.
And that was an amazing deal too, because I started out as a jobber. I trained with the Hart brothers. I was in Calgary. I trained with the Harts, and I had 10 matches in Calgary. Then from there, I'm a native. I was born and raised in Connecticut, Waterbury, Connecticut, which isn't like, people think Connecticut is like rich, but Waterbury, if anybody knows Waterbury out there, it's a ghetto
so
town.
much.
Yeah, and it's not what you think. So I didn't come from money or anything. But anyways, I literally took my bags one day to the old New Haven Coliseum where we, not knowing anybody. And did you ever get to know Tony Gurria?
Yeah, very well.
So
very well.
I took, me being a dumb kid, 20 years old, right out of the Hart brothers. I said, Mr. Gurria, I showed up backstage right through the ramp before they had security and all that shit, And I'm like, sir, my name is PJ Polacco. I was trained by the Harts. If you need somebody, I just introduced myself. And then he sat me down. I watched the show from the ramp. And then at the end of the show, I said, thank you, sir, for your hospitality. And he goes, well, son, and I'm not going to do a good accent because I'm not impressions. Well, we're starting a new show called Monday Night Raw, and we're going to need people in Manhattan. So he gives me a card, and that's how I started getting booked as a jobber. And then I from there, shit started catching on. But sometimes people don't get it. It's like that little bit of putting yourself out there, taking that, being good, first of all, the basics, learning your craft, and, but sometimes just going for it. And in this world of social media and everything is so crazy and different from my time and your time, but it's like just doing those little things and having a little bit of balls kind of, dude, put it this way. If it was today, I would not have had the balls to do it because I would have been too scared. Knowing what I know now, I was just a dumb kid that fucking thought, oh, what do I do? Just go fucking, I didn't understand what it meant. But now looking back, it's like, holy shit. But, bro, one thing I don't want to forget, because I have a bunch of notes on you. I want to talk about your Japan stuff, because the stuff you did in New Japan, I watched before I even had the balls to ask you on the podcast. And again, I'm so grateful because I'm a big fan of your work. But I went back and I watched some New Japan stuff that you did. Holy shit. That was like, if fans don't know, they better go back and look, because you really were, so, I mean, you were special in WWE, but you were it was like a different MVP. Your work in All Japan, or New Japan, I'm sorry, was ridiculous. How did that come about, bro?
Man. So Norman Smiley was one of my mentors, and he used to come around and work with us a little bit. And he and I got to be really close. He took me up under his wing, and he was the one that actually introduced me to Japanese wrestling. And, just wrestling aside, I've always had a huge love for Japanese history and culture, and just fascinated with it. And it's a place I always wanted to go. And then when I, found out they wrestle in Japan too, American style wrestling. Oh shit. Okay. And I was at Norman Smiley's house one afternoon, and he showed me a match with, it was a tag match, but Manami Toyota and Isaac Kong were on opposing teams. And at that point, it was the most amazing match I had ever seen at that point. Manami Toyota was phenomenal, and Isaac Kong, and man, they were so fucking stiff, and I was blown away. And at the bell, I stood up and I looked at Norman and I went, Norman, that was the most amazing thing I've ever seen. And Norman said, sit down, Hassan, that was the first fall. I said, what the fuck? So after that, I started going down the rabbit hole. And this was, before YouTube. You couldn't just, go on and watch whatever you wanted to watch. You had to, back then we were tape trading.
Right.
Tapes and ordering tapes, bootleg tapes. And then all of a sudden, man, I discovered, Misawa and Kawada and Kobashi and Team 2000, Chono and Great Muta. And all of a sudden, man, I'm just blown away by the Japanese style of wrestling. And I remember watching Misawa and Kawada beat the fuck out of each other.
Oh, yeah, buddy.
And I saw that shit and I went, I want to do that. That's what I want to do. Like, wrestling is all about, it's a what do you call it? It's a buffet. It's a smorgasbord. You get a little bit of what you like. But for me, I was like, man, fuck Memphis style and fuck comedy and fuck, the hour-long promos. Even though that was my forte, I was just like, that is combat. That's sport. I want to do that. So my dream was to wrestle in Japan. I used to fantasize about the Tokyo Dome and Korakuen Hall. My goal was WWE. And most guys do it in reverse. Most guys go to Japan, make a name for themselves, and then get signed to the E and get the big money. Right. I was lucky in that I was able to go to the E first, make a name for myself and make money. And then I had a year deal. I had a year left on my deal. And Johnny Ace was trying to get me to sign a 5-year deal. And I had already fallen out of love with the WWE. I was on the rocket ship, and then politics kicked in, and I was off the rocket ship, and all the bullshit. You know how it goes. Yeah, I know. And I had to talk with Johnny, and I had a few backstage confrontations with higher ups where I won't mention any names, but I invited a couple people outside, like, hey man, fuck that shit. Let's go outside. And then I had told Johnny, I'm like, look, man, I need to leave here, man, because Chris Benoit, who was one of my friends and mentors, he told me, do it because you love it and the money will come. Don't ever let it be about the money. And I remember seeing guys backstage who, they got the house and the car and the kids and the mobile home and the boat, and they were miserable. But, they were boxed in. They had to get that check, and I was fortunate. I made some money and I did well. And I told Johnny, I said, dude, I got to go, Johnny. I got to leave here on the terms that I can come back before I end up leaving here on terms that I can't come back. Right. And he and I used to bond over, drink beers at the bar and talk about Japanese wrestling. And, he knew that I was in love with it. And I told him, Johnny, I want to go to Japan. I want out of my deal. I got a year left. I don't want to resign. Just, let me go to Japan. And he said, all right, let me talk to Vince and let me sell Vince on it because, it's an investment in you that we don't have to pay for. You go to Japan for a year, 2 years, you get better, you come back, you're a bigger star. And, that's an investment we don't have to pay for. I'm like, all right, cool. And you'll appreciate this. I was on a Tuesday at SmackDown. That Friday, I remember it was like, it was right before Christmas.
Oh my God.
And I get the call from Johnny. And he says, all right, kid, I talked to Vince, and I was able to sell him on it, and we're going to go ahead and get your release papers worked up. And I'm like, so that's it? It's a good deal? And Johnny told me, yeah, man, we're going to go ahead and pay you out your 90 days anyway. You're leaving on good terms. Vince said the door's open for you to come back when you're ready. I'm like, all right, hold on a second, Johnny. And right then I started packing a bowl because I'd been like positive for weed like 10 times or some shit like that, Right. And I started packing a bowl and I took a massive rip, and I'm like, all right, Johnny, tell Vince, I said, I wish him the best of luck in his future endeavors. That's future endeavor, WWE.
Dude, that's fucking tremendous, dude.
And I reached out to New Japan, and I had met Jado and Gato.
Shit!
Before,
yeah,
they were over in the States, and they had a tryout, and they saw me with Benoit doing squats and running the stairs and shit. And they were like, "Yo, who's that guy with Benoit?" And this is new kid MVP. And when Johnny introduced me to him, like again, coming back to your point about kids today, big leaguing you. I knew who the fuck Jado and Gato were because I was a tape watcher, and I was, the history of Japanese wrestling I was familiar with, American wrestling. So there weren't a lot of people that I didn't know. And, Jado and Gato had lost a lot of weight. They were, in shape. And I'm like, oh, Jado, Gato, I know you guys, man. Wow, you look different, man. So I made a good impression on them. They were shocked that I knew who the fuck they were. So when I left WWE, I sent an email and I reached out to New Japan and, Gato was like, yeah, fuck yeah, let's get him. I got a call from Hattori, and, I had Johnny Ace let them know that, I'm released from my contract. I'm free and clear. And I started with New Japan, and it was literally a dream come true, dude.
Dude,
a dream come true.
Listen, I don't want to forget. I'm not cutting you off, but I don't want to forget this because I have so much retort on that because it's so cool, and I just want to give you my end. Jado and Gato came to ECW in 98, 99, and that was the best match Lance and I, the Impact players, ever had. It was at the ECW arena in Philadelphia, and I didn't know those guys at all, but I guess Lance knew them from FMW in Japan.
Oh, word, yeah.
And we do. That's still, if anybody goes out, any of the fans go on YouTube, it's out there. It's like it's really one of the best Impact players. It's probably one of the best tag matches in the late 90s. I mean, it was dope. I'm not putting myself over. Just like for me enjoying it, crowd reaction. It was so cool. So I'm glad you mentioned them. But another thing, Johnny Ace, he gets a lot of like a bad rap, but the same thing happened to me, dude. When I got fired from my own self, 2003. I was, a lot of people know this already, but a lot of people don't. I was getting high and smoking shit I shouldn't have been smoking, not weed, by the way. And anyways, and I got fired from WWE. But Johnny Ace delivered the call on Christmas Eve, and which was, of course, and I didn't even tell my wife for a week. You know, how do you tell your wife you got fired? But anyways, long story short, Johnny got me a gig in All Japan because he had a gig. You know what I mean? He was revered in All Japan, and he made sure that in 2003 I was booked all year through All Japan. So a lot of people sometimes say Johnny's like, he's this or that, but he always kind of looked out for our own in that way. He wasn't a bad dude, and it's just kind of a cool story about that link to Japan and how special it was, and and just all of that. Just it's so I don't know, it's fascinating to me because again, like I said, you doing what you did in Japan, it was a different MVP. It wasn't the guy we saw in WWE. You were it was your pure wrestling athletic fight, your fighting spirit self. It was dope as fuck to watch, dude.
Thanks,
as a fan, I just loved watching. I was a mark for it. I really loved watching it, dude.
I appreciate that, man. And it's mutual, because like I said, when I was coming, in wrestling school, I was watching the Impact players. I was watching you guys. You guys were, everybody knows about it now, but there's no question about how, the ECW squad changed the face of the business. You guys changed the game. The Attitude Era exists because of you guys. So, that you changed the face of wrestling for good or for bad, depending on how you want to look at it.
Right.
But, you guys, so then we can have this mutual admiration society thing here. What I clearly remember you guys, Impact players and, the fucking pose with the kendo stick above the head. And I remember, the green indie guy coming up, watching everybody, trying to fucking emulate you guys and kendo sticks and tables.
Where I got the pose, it was my idea because Lance was very cut and dry. And Lance, a lot of people don't know this, but Lance was actually my trainer because he's from Calgary and I trained at the Hearts. So how it is, like how you said, you went to Mike Drosey's school, Duke the Dumpster school, but he really didn't train you. Right. I went to the Hart brothers, Bret Hart's family, but Lance Storm was really the trainer. So, you know what I mean? I paid for the Harts, but I got Lance, but that's not a bad thing. It was a great thing. But that's where I first got into, learning about all that stuff. But so when we got into the game of ECW and Paul Heyman put us together, the pose that we did, that was Kevin Nash, Diesel, and Sean, because Sean would do the Heartbreak Kid pose, and then Diesel would do the pose with this, just putting his hand up. So I'm like, Lance, let's rip that shit off. So
blatant, right?
Yeah, just fucking make it your own, though, right? Just take that shit and fucking run with it, But anyways, that's like how we thought. We were just like, fuck it, we'll take this shit and make it our own, But anyways, everybody does. You just take stuff and make it your own, right?
Dude, I blatantly ripped off the people's elbow. Blatantly, I took it, and I, took at the time. Jim Jones had the song, "We Fly, No Lie."
Right.
And I took some pop culture and took something that was already over and made it my own. And next thing I know, everywhere I go around the world, people are doing this fucking goofy elbow screaming a line to a hip hop song. So, And you got to take a little bit of originality and mix it up with something, and you make your own cocktail. And you guys did that, I did that, and it was really cool because, as you know, like going back to Johnny Ace, like Johnny Ace is not without fault. That's for damn sure.
Of course.
But to his credit, like you said, a lot of the time when he would let guys go, he would like, hey man, if you want, I can probably get you over into Japan. And I know there were a few guys that he was able to get to Japan, and so to that point, like when he asked me, I'm like, nah, Johnny, I'm already working on this. I got this. He's like, sure you don't want me to make a call? Nope, I'm doing this all on my own. And I ended up having to ask him, like, man, would you just let Hattori know that I'm free and clear? Like, my contract is done. Like, I don't.
Right.
Because, Hattori was like, yeah, you got some contract papers with WWE. Like, nah, man, I'm done. I'm out. I'm free, man. I'm ready to come over there. And it was cool because in WWE, in the beginning, I had the rocket ship behind me, but still, I was on the rocket ship rather. The machine was behind me, but I still had to get myself over. There's only so much they can do for you. And then to go to Japan, a lot of people don't realize now Japanese wrestling is the rage. Everybody wears a fucking Bullet Club shirt.
Right.
But when I quit WWE to go to Japan, people were telling me I was crazy and I was stupid and why was I wrestling in China and, all this crazy shit. And there are a lot of people in Japan that don't watch WWE. They have no idea who the fuck. I mean, they know who John Cena is, but they couldn't tell you anything about him. And they would tell you that Tanahashi would whoop the shit out of John Cena. They wouldn't. So, I had to go to Japan, and even though they knew I was coming from WWE, I had to get over all over again on my own,
Right.
And the fact that, again, coming all the way back around to your point about, the jackass that big leads you and this generation of kids that haven't studied the business and they don't know who came before them. When I got to New Japan, I knew everybody in the locker room. I knew everybody. I knew who all these guys were. And I was over in the locker room with the boys because they all, they knew MVP quit WWE to come to New Japan. And to them, that was a mind fuck. Like, really? Right. MVP son, you quit WWE, come New Japan? Right. Why? And I'm like, because I want to work with you and I want to work with you. And I remember, having matches with Kojima and having matches with, Makabe, and we'd be talking.
You worked with Kojima?
Yeah, man.
I worked with him. It's funny enough. I worked with him in MLW in 2004, 2003, 2004.
I remember.
And he's a bad motherfucker, dude. He's a bad motherfucker. And you know who else I didn't want to cut you off, but I was scared to death too. I thought I worked with Kawada in All Japan. But he didn't fuck the American boys up like he fucked the Japanese boys up. I thought my teeth were going to get kicked in, and he was
Steve kick.
Dude, but he actually said, Justin, don't worry, American style. And I said, God bless you, thank you.
Let me tell you this.
I was scared to death, bro.
Let me tell you this cool ass story. Now you just jogged my memory. So
no, please do. I want to hear it. Please tell me.
I was introduced to Masato Tanaka via ECW. Him and those ridiculous matches he had with Mike Awesome, Wrestling Power, Big Mike.
Yes.
And, so I knew who the fuck Masato Tanaka was. And then, from tape watching, I had seen all his sick ass shit in FMW, and when I got to New Japan, my first feud was with Makabe. And when that was over, they said, okay, now you're going to feud with Tanaka, for the IWGP title. I'm like, all right, cool. The IC title. And I remember the very first night working with Tanaka, and I'm like, fuck, man, this is going to be one of those nights, And then we were doing a 6-man, and everybody, we're going laying out the match, and Tanaka, who, as you know, is fucking cool as hell, really laid back, great guy.
Great guy.
And he comes to me and he says, MVP-san, tonight, easy, okay? I'm like, big, okay, yeah, easy, big, okay. So for those house shows, live events, it was a different Tanaka from, the pay-per-view shows and TV. Like Tanaka on Cork and Hall. I worked him in the sumo arena, Ryogoku, where I dropped the title to him, and that's different Tanaka.
Of course,
that's not Big Easy, but Ricky Santana, who's another mentor of mine, and a guy who put a hand on me early on in the business, told me a story about Kawada. When Kawada was a young boy, and he was in the States on his excursion, his something with his visa. I don't remember the details, but, they went from the States and they crossed over the border into Mexico to work down there. And as they were coming back, his paperwork wasn't right. So they wouldn't let him back in the States. So Ricky said, all right, man, look, they got him a little fucking cheap ass shithole room. And they said, okay, Kawada, you stay here. We're going to go back to the States. We're going to get your paperwork squared away with the office. And, as Ricky told me the story, this wasn't the fearsome fucking Kawada that we've come to know. This was young boy Kawada who, still was green and, learning his way. And Ricky said that it was so touching. Like Kawada looked at him with these scared eyes and was like, Ricky-san, come back for Kawada? And he said, I promise you, Kawada, I promise you I'll come back for you.
Yeah.
So they went to the office. They got his paperwork right. They came back. They got Kawada. Years later, Ricky goes to All Japan. And I forgot who his tag team partner was, but this is when Kawada was known for fucking going after the Gaijin, And
right.
Ricky said that, they had a tag match with Kawada and whoever his partner was. And Ricky's partner got in the ring, and Kawada was Kawada. Bam, boom, smack, kick, punch. And when Ricky tagged in, Kawada was like finger touch light, very easy.
Yeah.
And then he said afterwards, because I used to hear stories about how Kawada wouldn't even speak to the American guys. He just might, give you an acknowledgement and keep it moving.
Right.
And then Ricky said Kawada was walking past him and he looked him in the eye and said, Ricky-san, Kawada, remember, thank you. And walked off.
Hey, man, that's respect. And again, it's so important because, dude, we all paid the price. You've paid the price. I've paid the price. I mean, we could be on here for 5 hours telling stories of what happened to us and just the heart. I mean, the bags I carried, the shit I had to do, and all the beatings I had to take. And I'm sure you did too. And whatever. But, they do remember. And that's that thing of respect. Because when I went over there, Kawada didn't know me from Adam, but he knew I was, I had some kind of cachet. This was, again, after being ACW champion and after a little bit of a run. And he knew, he knew who I was and I could work. And he got in the ring. He could have disrespected. He could have killed me if he wanted to. I ain't going to fuck with it.
Right.
And, he took care of me. And again, that's like, again, at the end of the day, like I said, it wasn't like Tokyo Dome or it wasn't Cork and Hall. It was the warehouse shows, and again, he could have fucked me up if he wanted to. And I would have done two things, as the late, great Davey Boy Smith says. I would have done two things, nothing, and liked it. But anyways, we're wrapping this up, brother. I want to talk about what you're doing now, man. Anything you're into, anything you want to push or plug, again, I could go on forever, man. This has just been so
fast. It's been a cool conversation, man. Yeah.
I didn't think I was honestly going to get you on the podcast because I know you're a very busy person and I'm grateful. I'm such a huge fan, and I'm just, we're a small, podcast just starting out. So to me, it's like, I'm so grateful and thankful that you're on. So, what are you up to now, dude?
Well, I'm glad you asked that. As you and I discussed before, I did nearly 10 years in prison. I was a teenager, caught in a robbery case, ended up, doing some hard time. And now one of my biggest things is being an advocate for convicted felons. Right. Because, I was on CNN recently. I was on, Sirius XM. I did a TED Talk. And, as a convicted felon, I'm known to millions of people around the world as MVP. And I've taken all this time to, I go to juvenile detention centers to talk to at-risk youth. I go to prisons to talk to ex-convicts. I do all this work that I can. I've got action figures, video games. I've been at movies, but I'm still number 190, 197.
real quick, not to cut you off, but I have this down on my notes, and it really stood out to me because I am as well a convicted felon. But the thing I have in my notes is, when do I stop being a criminal? When do I stop? You know what I mean? It's like, it's so powerful. And I think people sometimes misinterpret that because shit does happen in life, and it shouldn't define the human being. And again, I didn't mean to cut you off. I just wanted to say that it's impactful to me. How do we change that, dude? How do we in America change that?
There has to be a conversation, and people have to realize it. Just because someone goes to prison doesn't mean that you throw the person away. It's, they're not irredeemable. And, when in my Twitter feed, I had jackasses come on there and, well, stay out of prison and that won't happen. Well, don't break the law. You've never broken the law. You've never fucking.
Right. You never got caught, bitch.
You just never got caught speeding, or like I remember.
Right.
I was in prison with a dentist. Guy was a dentist. Cocktail party, had a few too many drinks, got in his car, got into an accident, vehicular manslaughter. He killed somebody.
Jesus.
And guy never been in trouble before. Probably hasn't been in trouble since. But that one night, he had, a couple of drinks too many, got behind the wheel, made a bad decision, and took a life. And, is he a bad person? Is he a scumbag? Is he a criminal? No, the guy made a bad decision. And, I don't even know if he can practice dentistry anymore because of it, But my point is, telling that story, man, they got to sell to fit everybody. And, the guys that are talking shit about, oh, well, stay out of jail. All right, well, let's say you're fucking, having drinks at a bar, or, you're at a football game drinking beer, and some rowdy jackass grabs your girlfriend's ass. What are you going to do? Hey, don't do that. No, you're going to stand up and defend your wife and your girl, and you put an overhand right on that dude's chin and his head hits the concrete. Bam, you got a manslaughter case. You just killed somebody,
Yeah.
It's just that easy. So my point is, I think we need to have a conversation. Like the whole idea is that you go to prison to pay your debt to society. And when you get out, you should have a clean slate. But a lot of places, like, the state of Florida where I'm from, like, I lost my right to vote before I could even exercise it. I was 16 when I got convicted. I came home at 26, and I still haven't been able to vote. Right. And they're going through that now. But I think that, you get out of prison, you're a convicted felon, and certain people, you can't get a job. You can't get a place to live. Background check. Oh, you're a convicted felon. We won't rent to you. Hey, have you ever been convicted of a felony? Check yes or no on an application. Well, we're not going to give you a job because, well, then what the fuck are you supposed to do? How are you supposed to get back in society and be an upstanding citizen?
I'm having that hard time now, brother. I'm trying to, because, I still wrestle and I still do, conventions and autographs and all that. I mean, I do okay, but I'm looking for a job, and it's very difficult for me because of being a convicted felon. And that's, again, that's another way. This is very fascinating for me because it's kind of like I was so amazed, and I watched your TED Talk a bunch of times because it's so real. And it's like, I'm a family man. I'm not a horrible person. I just did something really stupid. But now it's like, I got me and my family, my wife, my children, I can't provide the way I should or could. So it's like, when does it stop? It's great. And I think that conversation needs to be had. And I just wanted to really bring that out. I didn't want it to be like, because again, like I said, we have hours of talk we could do.
Sure.
But, I didn't want to bog it down with this, but it's very important to me because it's something I'm facing now. For the first time, quite frankly, I got out of jail January 14th of this year, and it's very real and it's very scary, and it's just crazy. So
well, the thing is, people don't care until it happens to them or somebody that they
of course, and it was nothing. I didn't, it wasn't any. I mean, it was a small incident that was deemed domestic violence, and of course, everybody knows. And I had to cop out because I wanted to get it, and that's another fucking gimmick.
Well, I was gonna say that's a whole nother.
That's a whole nother. I had to cop out.
You can't afford to defend yourself.
Of course.
So you take a plea deal, because, you don't have money for a lawyer.
Right.
You end up taking a deal just so you can get out of jail and get on with your life. And then all of a sudden, the criminal justice system is
it's the biggest work in the world.
Severely flawed. It's severely flawed, and it needs an overhaul. The whole cash bail system. You're locked up and you can't get out of jail because you can't afford bail. So you lose your job, you lose your apartment, and you're supposed to be innocent until proven guilty. But if you got money, then you can post your bond and you go get an attorney and life goes on as usual. But if you're poor and you don't have money, or you get a parking ticket, and man, you're already strapped for cash. You're behind on rent, you're behind on child support. You don't pay your parking ticket, and then maybe you get another parking ticket. Before you know it, you've got parking tickets. You get. I've seen this happen.
Yeah.
Now you get arrested because you haven't paid your tickets because you didn't have enough money, and now you're in jail. And you lose your job and you lose your car. You can't afford to get your car out of the tow shit. It's just a fucking black hole that people get caught up in.
Shit, right?
It compounds.
Yeah.
So what I'm trying to do now is use my platform and use whatever measure of visibility that I have to have this discussion. I got a one-man show that I did. You ever see Mike Tyson's one-man show, The Undisputed Truth?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Well, that inspired me to do my own because, my life story is a movie in the making.
Yeah,
a movie waiting to be made. But I did a one-man show. I debuted it in London, and I got booked on the Jericho cruise to do it again. I'm working on a tour, probably a tour in the UK, and then once I kind of get a little more momentum with it, I want to bring it to the States. But it's kind of like Mike Tyson's deal, but it's mine. There's a few wardrobe changes, but I talk about my life leading up to wrestling. And then, I talk about, being a convicted felon and being a quote unquote celebrity convicted felon. And I'm trying to bring awareness to the situation with whatever visibility MVP can bring to the situation. Also, here's something I'd like to put out there for everybody. Vice Channel. A lot of people have watched that the Dark Side of the Ring series.
Yes.
Which was awesome.
Yeah, it was.
There's a new series that's debuting Wednesday night, and it's called The Wrestlers. And my good friend Damian Abraham is the host, and he's a massive, massive wrestling fan. And he and a crew traveled all around the world documenting wrestling. In Bolivia with the Cholitas, and Kinshasa with the Witch Catch, Mexico, the Indies. And it's an amazing series. I've been able to see it because I'm in episode 2. I'm like the main feature of the second episode that's going to air. And everybody that's listening to this, I highly, highly recommend you tune into Vice Channel and watch The Wrestlers. It's absolutely awesome. And if you want to follow me, I'm on Twitter at the305MVP. I'm on Instagram at truly_MVP. If you're a fan, I got some pretty cool t-shirts on prowrestlingtees.com. Buy a t-shirt. I use that money to buy cool shit for my son. He's got all the Avengers, and you guys bought them because I use that t-shirt money to buy it for him. And I think I pretty much covered all my shit, man. And I want to thank you very much for having me on. I've been a fan of yours for a long time. And, whether you know it or not, you and, the whole ECW squad were a huge influence on me and my career very early on. So I want to thank you for that.
I didn't know that, but I'm so thankful. I'm blown away, bro. This is probably the best podcast I've done so far. It was just so insightful, and I also did. I retweeted the new show because I found it fascinating on Viceland. The Wrestlers. I did retweet that, and I recommend everybody watch it. I know it's gonna be dope. It's gonna be fucking badass, dude. Thank you, humbly and gratefully. Thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to be on this small little podcast that we're trying to get off. But dude, it's been a pleasure. This is honestly one of the best we've done, and I'm so grateful. I really appreciate it, bro.
No, thank you for having me, man. It was a pleasure talking to you, and I hope we get a chance to continue this conversation somewhere down the road.
Absolutely. Anytime, my friend. And I hope to talk to you soon, man. Thank you so much, man. Have a great day.
You too, man. Take care.
When I call up a truce, I'm the one like Neil, cocky like Teal. Nobody can guard me like I'm shooting a free throw. This is illegal. My flow is legal. And it's me. It will never be a sequel. See, I'm fly like a pelican. And while I'm here, yeah, I'm gonna represent. If you're sick, then I'll be your medicine. And you already know who I'm better than. No doubt, yep, I'm a veteran. And when done, you gon' think you got ran over by elephants. Since I came, ain't been the same like ever since. And that talking, yeah, it better end. I'm coming! Nobody can stop me, nobody can hold me, nobody control me. I'm coming! I'm here to do my thing, I'm here to bring the pain, I'm never ever gonna change.
MVP. We gotta have him back, dude.
Yeah,
we gotta have him back.
I agree. Like I said, he's such an amazing guy, and what really caught my attention was, like I said, I was I've known him for a little bit. I'm not too close with MVP, but I was watching YouTube, just scrolling through YouTube, and I caught one of those. I don't know if you're familiar with those TED Talks. It's like for business, like big businesses and stuff. And, what caught my attention, and X-Pac brought it up as well in his podcast, was like, when do you stop becoming a criminal? About the justice system, and kind of like, you're stigmatized as a felon, blah, blah, blah. And it's just, because of my legal troubles as of the past, year and so. So it just kind of grabbed my attention, and I, heard the talk. So that's what kind of really got me involved. But he's a great performer, overcame a lot of stuff. So I just, anyways, not to toot the horn, but I just, you guys check it out, and I'm glad you checked it out. But dude, we have so much more in store. I hope you enjoyed the MVP deal, but dude, Double or Nothing, AEW. The Twitter world. I mean, yesterday, I don't want to be time. I don't want to do this in a time constraint, but Saturday night, when the pay-per-view aired, May 25th, Double or Nothing, the trending #1 on Twitter. It was absolutely insane. Professional wrestling is back, Jax, and it's back the way we love it. And again, it's not necessarily a war. It's not the Monday Night Wars. It's not a war of things. But what I'm trying to say is fans now have an alternative view on the world of pro wrestling. And it's so exciting. I have not been able to, quite frankly, I wrestled in Evansville, Indiana, Saturday night on the 25th. And I've been streaming Double or Nothing back and forth, and it's flawless. It's a flawless pay-per-view. It reminds me of the back in the day NWA, hard-hitting yet entertaining characters, with 2019 flair and style. No pun intended. Wow, what do you think, man? What's going on?
I mean, listen, I'm going to be honest. Don't hate me, guys. I did not get to watch a good majority of the show. I'm going by pretty much ProWrestling.net's Jason Powell's review, and he did kind of a live play-by-play almost, if you will, that I was able to listen to while I was at work. But it's some of the clips and stuff. I just want to say, we ran into Jimmy Havoc when we were down in Jersey over WrestleMania weekend.
Yep.
And we knew that night, he told us, hey, dude, I just got signed to AEW. Awesome. Good for him. Proud of him. Happy for him. But I don't know if AEW is going to be the place. I don't know if I'm assuming you saw the Battle Royal, the staple gun bit with the lit cigarette to Janela's forehead.
I did.
I mean, obviously super entertaining. Just not really my style. I don't know. I can't get into that super hardcore scene.
I think, if you don't mind me saying, Jax, and I hear you, and because it is what it is, and I'm not into that either. Because as a performer, just as a performer, makes me nervous, and that's me coming from ECW. Makes me nervous.
To me, growing up, hardcore is, chairs, a kendo stick, the odd something out of the toolbox from under the ring, the tables,
right.
Yeah, stuff like that. That, the stop sign or whatever was in, who used to come out with the shopping cart full of gimmicks? Was that Raven?
Yes.
Yeah, the shopping cart full of gimmicks. I loved that stuff. I really did. And there's a time and place for it. And there's certain companies out there that thrive off of that. And there's performers out there that are making a living doing this stuff. But my concern is, man, how long are you going to be able to make that living? I mean, just look at the story that Jimmy told us that night. Why he wasn't working the show that we were on.
His elbow, it was completely fucked up. Yeah, no.
Yeah, because of a glass light tube. I mean,
listen, I never did that stuff, and Jimmy, Jimmy's a great guy, and he told us a lot about what happened. But that's one thing. I think that's what AEW is trying to capture. That's the reason they had Tommy Dreamer on the show, right? They're not
big shout out to Tommy.
Big shout out to Tommy, dude. And it warmed my heart. And I'm not trying to get off topic, but it warmed my heart to hear 10,000 fans in Las Vegas chant out ECW after all these years.
But you know what? They didn't until he left the ring, went and got a garbage can,
of course,
and came back. Then they started popping with the ECW chant.
You remind them. And it's just kind of cool, and again, it's almost surrealistic because I look at it from such a back and I'm so far removed from that nowadays that it still pops me to this day. But it was cool. But with the hardcore stuff going on, I think AEW is just simply, and I'm not trying to analyze what they're trying to do right now because it's still such a new product, but I think they're just trying to say, hey, we'll do Japanese wrestling. We'll do, like what Dustin and Cody did, classic storytelling, amazing professional wrestling matches. Well, you know what I mean? We'll have high flyers. We'll have luchadors. We'll have and they're really and I think that the Janellas and the Jimmy Havocs and the Dreamers and those guys, it's they'll do the hardcore stuff. So it's just I think they're just showing the fans, and which is myself, I'm a fan, that look, we're going to do a little bit of everything, which is cool. They kind of address look, if you're into Japanese wrestling, we got that. If you're into storytelling and old school wrestling, we got that. If you're into hardcore wrestling, we got that. Whatever it may be. And man, I'll tell you, I got a ton of notes. I wrestled in Evansville, Indiana, the night of Double or Nothing, and I literally sat in the restaurant the morning after, waiting for my flight. And as you and I, we communicated. I was watching it on my iPhone, and I literally took down a ton of notes. So let's get ready for this one, man. I got a lot of shit to throw at you, Jackson. But one thing.
Well, lead the way.
Yeah, no. One thing I did notice is AEW is focusing huge on tag team wrestling. They really want to make it a really big deal. And I noticed the way in their promotion, not just of course, because of the Young Bucks, they lead the charge, no doubt. But just the way they're booking storylines and the things they're doing, they're really focusing hardcore, and especially in the commentary. Jim Ross was talking about it, and it's one of the things I mentioned, just Jim Ross saying that some guys, are just built for tag team wrestling, and just really making an effort to promote tag team wrestling was really interesting and refreshing. So I guess instead of AEW pushing monsters or the atypical Brock Lesnar's or whomever, Bill Goldberg, the big guys, the 250 pounders, they're really focusing on, or trying to focus on, tag team wrestling, which is a skill on its own. So I find that really, really refreshing.
As a kid, growing up watching wrestling, of course, the Hulk Hogan's, Roddy Piper's, Hacksaw Jim Duggan's. You know, I looked up to these guys, and as singles competitors, you know, awesome. But to me, there was nothing like a tag team match. I mean, growing up, you know, having the vision of being a professional wrestler in my head, I never saw myself in a singles situation. I always saw myself with my best friend, whoever it may be at that time, by my side, kicking ass. I just love the concept of tag team wrestling. I love the history of tag team wrestling. I love tag team wrestling, period. I would watch a 4-hour block of tag team wrestling. You know, that would be if it was just a tag tournament, say like King of the Ring, but it was a tag tournament. So like the Crockett Cup, dude. Right. If I could watch the Crockett Cup every freaking day in, day out, and it was, you know, new matches every time, holy shit, dude, I would be in heaven.
Yeah, and that's really interesting because a lot of people feel that way. I just unfortunately, I think in the last 10 years, you know, look, if you're a young professional wrestler and you're trying to make it in this crazy world of pro wrestling, it's hard. It's hard enough just to make it. Even if you have all the talent, you have the physical body, you have the looks, it's hard, you know, and it's, you know, if you're to say that, okay, I want to be a tag team specialist, makes it even harder because it's an obsolete thing. So it's like more, well, not obsolete, but obviously more now than ever. But I think more people are more prone to being a singles guy if they're trying to get discovered or trying to get signed. So it's, I totally agree. And it's a lost art. I mean, I come from the days of the Andersons, the Midnight Express, the Rock and Roll Express, you know, Tully and Arn. You know, I can go on and on. It's so many great, the Rockers. I mean, you know, even though that wasn't Shawn Michaels' best years, still the Rockers were probably one of the best tag teams of all time. The Midnight Rockers, you know.
Oh my God.
Jesus. You know, and what was that other team? We were with Bobby Fulton, Tommy Jaggers. Remember we were with that guy? Bobby
oh my
Fulton,
gosh!
With his son, remember that he was at one of our shows.
Yeah.
Oh my God!
I'm drawing a blank.
What was the team he was? A big team. It was like part of a really big UWF team.
It was oh man.
We sound like jabrones. Oh my God!
Yeah, that's all right. It was Robert Fuller and right.
Bobby Fulton and Tommy Rogers. Tommy Rogers was in ECW for a minute. Yeah, I know. Oh my God, you guys are going to crucify us. But yeah, it was Bobby Fulton. That's the guy that was there. And Tommy Rogers, who was the real built dude, he actually was in ECW for a couple of years. And I worked with him actually a singles match when I was ECW World Heavyweight Champion. But he came in. It's going to kill me. We got to do the research on that one.
I'm actually looking on Google right now, and I can't. You said. I'm sorry. Say the names one more last time.
Okay.
Tommy Rogers
and Bobby Fulton. That's all right. We got time. It's a podcast, dude. Fans will wait. Not like that, but you know, I'm just curious now because he was. I'll do some backup while you're.
Oh my God! Really? How the Fantastics? Really?
Yeah. Thank you. I know. Brain fart. Yeah, the Fantastic. Yeah, and I worked with Tommy in ECW. We had a singles match when I was ECW heavyweight champion, and Bobby Fulton, which was the guy we met at that indie show. Remember?
Yeah,
with his son.
Yeah.
Again, great tag teams, man. Great feuds. The Sheep.
I think he follows me on Twitter, actually.
I'm sure he does. Yeah, I know he does. And remember, even before they were the Bushwhackers, the Sheep Herders, which were, you know, people always think of the Bushwhackers as like this fun-loving cartoon character stuff.
Yeah, but the Sheep Herders were blood and guts.
They were blood and guts. Put a spike to your head, you know, make you bleed kind of guys, you know. And they were ECW before ECW, and that's what a lot of the, you know, wrestling fans that came along in the late 80s, early 90s that never followed it don't realize that how intense they really were, and great workers too, you know, great workers, you know. But yeah,
So tag team wrestling to me is super cool. And it's going to make a resurgence because guess what? Matt and Nick Jackson, they're going to be their executive producers. And this thing is for real. This thing is AEW. I watched it back and forth while I was waiting for my flight all day because I had a late flight out of Evansville, Indiana, where I wrestled the night before. And, I saw that show probably 2 or 3 times. No kidding aside. And I was actually watching the Battle Royal, the free Battle Royal on YouTube, which is available on YouTube right now if you haven't seen it. The pre-game show. Dude, it's... Shit's about to go down. John Moxley.
Wow.
Come on, dude.
Formerly known as
Dean Ambrose.
Yes, sir. Oh man.
Dude, did you see those clips? Did you see the clips?
I did. I did. And you know what?
Goosebumps,
if
dude. They
are going to let him run with this Moxley character the way he was before he came to WWE, look out. He's taking over.
I listen. I just think they're going to
not to say that all the other talent that's there isn't.
No, I get you. I understand. Yeah, I understand what you're saying.
But you know what though? I really, really hope though that this is what I really truly hope, and this is why I was really so looking forward to AEW was. I mean, aside from Chris Jericho and a couple other guys, I mean, those WWE draws. We're not. I don't want to see guys like MJF, Sammy Guevara, Hangman Page. I don't want to see guys like this get overshadowed by a John Moxley just because of where he came from. Do you get what I'm saying?
I do. I do.
And if they start going down that path, they're going to lose a fan just as fast as they made one.
Right. No,
and I'm sure I'm not the only one that feels that way.
No, I do hear you. But they have so much. Look, and this is something I actually wrote down in my notes. And then this is why before the show, I messaged you to check out the pre-show. MJF, dude, if you really watch, and I know I've known him from the indie days before he ever had any spot in AEW. I've known him for a little bit, a couple of years, and dude, what a heel, right? Like going after like literally the lowest common denominator. You know what I mean? He just like take that opportunistic douchebag, like being, and he
is a classic 80s heel all day.
Yeah. Oh, I love it, dude. And he's physically talented, good-looking kid. I'm a huge fan of his, huge fan of MJF, and I think he's going to go far. And I think they recognize that too. I don't know who exactly is calling the shots in AEW, but right now, man, they have the golden ticket. It's it's the chocolate factory, and they have the golden ticket because. But here's one thing, though, and I want to throw this out to the fans and to you as well. A lot of people are saying, like, is this an isolated kind of, AEW caters to very hardcore wrestling fans, like the smarts, people like, that listen to our podcast, people that are very dedicated to professional wrestling, which is awesome, of course. But do you think that's going? Can that carry over? Can that momentum carry over all the time to, when they start running all the time and when they start having their weekly television show? That's been the question because, of course, they're making such a big splash. You know what I'm saying? Like, will they be able to do it?
This is something that we've talked about, personally between you and I before about AEW. Pretty much is an indie super show. Okay. And I don't mean indie in a derogatory manner either. I just mean it's AEW is a place where all these tremendous talents who work the independent scene, they're not tied down to anybody, but now they are all tied down. See, but Tony Khan was saying that, he's open to these guys still working. They can pretty much work anywhere they want still, with the exception of WWE, which I get that, and that's awesome but I also heard stories that there were some people that are not able to honor certain dates and stuff like that. So I don't know. I guess we're never going to get the real story. We're never going to get the real scoop without being there, being involved ourselves. But
I hear what you're saying, and that concerns me, but I wondering from a talent standpoint, right? Because anytime I've ever signed a contract, my biggest concern was always first and foremost, am I going to be able to pay my bills, right?
Right.
If I'm signing an exclusive deal like I did with ECW, when the Monday Night Wars were going on, it's literally I had a choice between WWE, WCW, and ECW, and I chose ECW because Paul gave me creative freedom, and I knew he was going to push me. So what does that mean? Does that mean, you know what I mean? It's like, there's so many television programs out there. Does it mean I could sign with AEW and still work with MLW? You know what I mean? That's the question right there, for example. Or I signed a contract with AEW. Can I work with ROH? And obviously, John Moxley just announced that he's
multi-year,
but he's also facing Juice Robinson for the U.S. Intercontinental, or not the U.S., the New Japan Intercontinental Championship over there. So it's like,
really?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. He just made an announcement that he's doing that. He's going in there to challenge Juice Robinson. So that's what I'm saying. It's like, what does that mean? The fact that, like Impact Wrestling, you sign a contract with Impact, but you're still doing MLW. You know what I mean? It's like, it's just very strange. And I don't know.
I think it just means, the exclusivity part of it where, okay, so, I'm booking you for April 1st as an example. Okay. But now all of a sudden you're signed to Impact. Impact wants you for April 1st. They take the priority. So you're going to have
basically Impact. Yeah. So if you're an AEW guy, AEW takes priority, right?
Right. So basically, if you're not booked by AEW, you can get yourself booked somewhere else on those days that you're not booked for AEW, is the way I understand it.
That's the way I understand it too. But it's going to be interesting.
I'm sure there's going to be exceptions.
Oh, I'm sure. But just listen, imagine when they get their first couple of shows out, right? They get their first couple of television shows on TNT, which is huge. I mean, TNT, that's where NBA basketball, the finals and stuff. That's where NBA basketball lives. And the former home of WCW, and you're trying to tell me that they're just going to allow you to go and work for a television station, another promotion that runs on Fox Sports or wherever.
Well, see, that's the thing. That's the thing that I'm curious about too, right? Because ROH has a TV deal, but they're small potatoes in comparison. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So. But say, IWGP, I'm sure they have a huge amount of television on their end.
I think it's dude, either way, this is just, we're going to uncharted waters right now. You know what I mean?
I think that's what it's going to come down to is about the TV time. They're not going to want their quote unquote AEW stars or whatever they're going to call them, showing up on other TV programs. They may think that it's going to work out right now, and it may work out for a while.
Right?
Yeah, it may work out for a while, but once these bigger numbers, if this blows up to the heights that they're thinking that it's going to blow up to, there's no way it's going to turn into WWE. I hate to say it. I don't mean that from a product standpoint or anything like that. I just mean as far as the business standpoint, standpoint. I'm sorry. You used to be able to do this, but because we're at this point now, you can no longer do that. Well, that's not what I signed up for. Well,
hey, man, this is a different level. Like I said, this is worldwide. worldwide. I mean, this is going beyond an independent company. You made it, All In was a feel-good gimmick where, look, we're an independent group running an independent show, and we get to sell out all these, fans and blah, 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 and, do this shit. Now you're behind a multi-millionaire backing with all the opportunity and signing free agents away from WWE. And this is just the beginning. From what I hear, man, Dustin Rhodes, and I don't know the legitimacy of this, but Dustin and this is another thing I love, and I don't want to get off topic, but they do these after-match press conferences, like very much like what I see Cody and the Young Bucks doing, very similar to New Japan. Like they're doing press conferences like if this was the NBA finals, right? And, you're going in front of the wrestling media talking about what you just did and what's going on moving forward or about the match. That's super cool. They're going at this like this is a professional sport. I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like this is dope, dude. We've never seen this. I mean, if you really think about it, we've never seen this in professional wrestling. They're literally doing press conferences, hitting up the media, ESPN, Sports Illustrated. I've checked. I've been on Twitter like crazy, looking at all the stuff that they're doing and they're following up on. And they were all there at Double or Nothing with their microphones, just like, trying to get comments and asking questions, which legitimizes what they're trying to do. I mean, that's so fresh and invigorating, where WWE is just simply the WWE. And it's like, all right, been there, done that. They're not trying anything different. They're stuck to their own ways. And again, WWE, I still will stand that has the best talent pool and talent roster in the business right now. They really do. If you really look at the talent roster from NXT all the way up, they have the best guys in the world. But but if you the way the AEW is just challenging them on, look, this is a new way to do things. This is how we're approaching this. And it seems like WWE is the antiquated old, like almost like they're the old guys, like kind of like you're the old shit, we're the new shit. This is new and fresh. And to me, I was just, bro, I watched that show so many times, and again, I can get into match per match and things that I liked and didn't like with the talent, but as far as presentation of it being like a real sport, that's what I love the most. It's like, they're treating it like this is a real sport. And I have not been so excited about the business in a long time. And I'm not the only one. I mean, the internet is, the internet has been broken, dude. So many people just fucking balls out talking about, what's going to happen. And tonight, too, I know we're taping this right now, almost right before Monday Night Raw goes out. I know we're not going to get a chance to view Raw and to talk about it, but I'm wondering if WWE is going to answer back.
I would expect them to. I mean, how can they not? Did you see the little deal after the match, or was it before or after the match with Cody smashing the throne, which was basically made out of Triple H's logo and all that. So, I mean, the shots were fired. So it's up to WWE right now to fire back. So I would expect something out of the ordinary to go down on Raw tonight. I don't think it'll be anything. I mean, it'll be newsworthy, wrestling newsworthy, I'm sure, but I don't think there's anything that WWE could do right now that could top what AEW has done this weekend.
Well, Jax, if you think about it this way, if they acknowledge it, right? If they acknowledge it, think about it this way.
How can they not? Are they going to big league them?
They might. They might. They might, but I think right now, as far as my opinion, what I've read, Jason Powell had some great insight. Our partner at ProWrestling.net. Had some great insight. Of course, we always go there for the news, and I suggest you guys go there too for the news. He's always a great source, but like, he said the same kind of thing. It's like, if you acknowledge it too much, like if WWE goes, no pun intended, because they go all in on putting over last night's Double or Nothing, they're acknowledging the whole deal. So like with me, like sometimes people talk shit about me online, and my whole thing was I was always taught by my seniors, like the Shawns and the Scott Halls and those guys, like, don't sell it, don't put it over.
Right.
How can you not put this over?
Yeah.
It's like, dude, you just can't. This isn't. I mean, this isn't ECW, because ECW was making waves in the 90s, but WWE, it wasn't a threat to WWE. This is a different animal. This really is a different animal. And of course, nobody wants anybody to go out of business, but it's just an amazing, it's just a fascinating way to look at. We now can choose. Like, you like sports entertainment, awesome. But if you like professional wrestling, that's awesome too. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You can get both. So, I mean, look, again, who wins in this is the fans. The fans win. Because they're not going to be competing head to head on their shows, from what I understand. And from what I understand also, AEW is only going to be running like 3 or 4 pay-per-views a year. Very similar to WWE's kind of like
the Big Four.
Yeah, right. So that's what their business model is. So I think there's enough to go around, man. And I just think it pushes everybody, gives everybody more opportunity, and good for me. And it's something I'm very happy about and excited about. Gives the old guys a chance to, maybe not physically perform, but gives us a chance to produce or be an agent or a coach, or, gives everybody a job. And that's, at the end of the day, what this is all about. At least, on the other end of the spectrum, not just from the fans end of the spectrum, but from the performers end of the spectrum, gives everybody a job. And, the more wrestling, the better. And, the more people watching, I think it's fucking dope, dude. And I want to go into some notes real quick.
Yeah. Real quick.
Go ahead,
before you get into that, I just wanted to bring something up. When I was introducing MVP earlier, I said former IWGP Intercontinental Champion. I should have been more clear on that. He was the inaugural IWGP Intercontinental Championship. Meaning he was the first one to hold that title.
I didn't know that.
Yes.
I didn't know that. Well, that's pretty cool. That's definitely pretty cool.
It was in a tournament. He won it in a tournament.
Yeah. Oh my God. I really didn't know that. I thought they had that for a while, but obviously I was a dumbass that did not know. Dude, I got a couple of quick notes, and it's not for us to talk about, but real quick, I have to, because I wrote a bunch of notes and I want to just get this out to the audience and to you especially, Jax. Atlas Security from ECW.
Oh yeah.
Dude, they were there. Fucking Atlas, Ronnie from Atlas, fucking 25 years, coked up.
Still looks the same.
But he's coked up. Sorry. Dude, that was the gimmick back in the day. And we'd have ECW riots with those fuckers fucking having our backs. It was ridiculous. Anyways, I had to give a shout out to Atlas Security.
Of course.
But dude, one thing in this, and I'll tell you the exact story. I wrestled Saturday night, May 25th, the night of Double or Nothing in Evansville, Indiana. Me and Sandman we tag team. We were part of a card. We were together. We tag team. Whatever. It's, that wasn't the newsworthy part. But I got back to the hotel. I was just chilling, eating some, fast food, and I was watching AEW Double or Nothing. And I watched Dustin and Cody, and I put this down in my notes because it actually meant something to me. Dude, if you watch it, and Jax, I want you to go back and watch this. I couldn't help myself. Literally bawled out, like not crying, but tears, really, like a lot of tears. Like, you couldn't help but get emotional. And what I mean by that is the commentary of Jim Ross, what Dustin and Cody were doing in the ring, but also what the AEW camera crew were doing was because it was such a special moment, they were capturing fans in the audience kind of like tearing up. Like you could obviously see, like they had that perfect shot of like fans crying and shit. And it just captured such emotion. I was bawling, dude. I really was. And that's what. And again, I'm doing this little documentary gimmick about what does pro wrestling mean to you? And I'll answer that question myself. Like,
don't forget to send your videos or your text submissions to ihatethispodcast.fanmail@gmail.com.
But that exactly, it answered my own question, right? Because that's the format of the mini doc, the series we got going on. But like for me, like, wow, I'm sitting here in a hotel room by myself, not talking to anybody, and I'm tearing up, like literally, bawling. It was that special talking about the, Dusty and whatever. You guys got to go back and watch it. But man, and that's magic. Jim Ross on the call brought some, maybe it's because of us coming through the Attitude Era and a lot of us loving that period of time, or even from WCW, where I came to love Jim Ross before I got into the business in the 80s. But Jim Ross is the voice. He's the Gordon Soley of our generation. And,
I do not disagree.
and to hear him on the call saying the things he was saying, calling those matches.
It was definitely good to have JR back behind where he belongs.
Brother, it made more of a difference than I think I ever realized a commentator could make, because it got me emotional. I'm in a hotel room by myself, and before I knew it, Dustin's pouring blood, and they're not doing any hard stuff. They're not doing any crazy high spots. They're telling a story, and there's JR, narrating us through that story. And there I am, all of a sudden, tears are flowing. I didn't even know why.
Well, see, that's the thing.
It's awesome stuff. It's awesome stuff.
What I've learned from being on the road with you, and what little training I do have, watching from behind the curtain or in the back on a monitor or whatever, it does not have the same effect on the viewer as it does when you're watching the finished product with the announcers, especially with somebody like Jim Ross behind the microphone. No. Jim Ross can make you feel compassion for a porcupine who just killed your mother. Yeah. I mean, he's that good. It's a stupid analogy. I get it, but you understand what I'm saying.
Yeah, right.
He can make you feel compassion for the person who just robbed your sister, and that's what makes him so great. The saying, you sell ice to an Eskimo, well, Jim Ross could sell even the worst match, and make it sound like it's a WrestleMania main event.
Well, but that's what makes our business so special, dude, is, it's all about, we perform in the ring and we give it our all inside the ring. But he's the man that, like a good football game, and, he's done football and stuff. You're just simply saying, this athlete is going through this, just incredible. Cody Rhodes, Dustin Rhodes, like he mentioned about it, and go back and listen to the commentary. Dustin Rhodes, he's 50 years old, but he's far from giving up. This old dog has something in the fight, and blah, blah, blah. Just, he's still got, he's telling the story of, the shoot story, by the way. The shoot story. Dustin's 50 years old, but he's also in the bed, and he's also saying this. He's the best, all positive shit. He's not. One thing Jim
he's in the best shape of his life,
and it's true. Yeah, sober 11 years, but what Jim Ross does is he's just picking out the best points of both competitors and just trying to spin it and be the author, if you will. Like they're doing the physical and he's doing the, and he's putting it all on the line, and he's so important, man. And at the end of the day, like, dude, I literally, with the commentary and with the match, because, I could have watched that match and I wouldn't have been emotional. But because of Jim Ross's commentary and the way he talked about Dusty and the kids and, between Cody and Dustin and the blood that Dustin spilled, because it was a bloody mess. Kind of like, it was kind of like my Battlefront wrestling thing. Maybe a little more, actually. It was maybe a little more than that. Like, you got more color than I did. But saying that, like, he just put it, and you can imagine how Jim Ross is. Just put that all out there. So a right hand means the world. Like one punch means the world instead of
something I always loved about Jim Ross was I heard this on one of his podcasts, was that, he didn't want to know. I may be confusing him with the King, to be honest with you. But he didn't want to know the outcome of the matches. Yeah, because he wanted his reaction to be honest and true, And I think that this was a good example of that.
Yeah, it is. And that's the truth. And the way he paints that picture, because he is that good and he's been doing it that long, that surprise, that passion comes forward. And again, that's why I love pro wrestling. That's why we all, I think, and I hope I'm speaking for all of us, hope that's what we all feel, is that's why we love wrestling. And that's where Vince misses out. That's where, I think that's where and again, I'm going to try to bring this back 360. That's where AEW has has it over Vince, is because Vince is going to do Vince no matter what, right? He's just dead set against, this is what I do, sports entertainment, blah, 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 blah. But AEW has the rabid fans, all of the fans that buy tees from ProWrestlingTees.com.
/ That's incredible.
Yeah, backside. But seriously, that whole generation of the hips, and now it's the hipsters, it's the new kids that love our business, and it's different. It's just different now, man. It's not just cable television. You tune into USA on a Monday night. It's internet. It's Pro Wrestling Tees. It's obviously going to be TNT. And dude, AEW is charging $50 a pop for pay-per-views. And
what did you think about that? Because there was a lot of bullshit about that.
Nope. I think they should. And they did. You know what? They delivered.
They could have charged more, and people still would have bought it.
UFC, and I look, Dana White followed
$100 for a Money Mayweather fight.
Dude,
that last one round. Come on,
Dana White follows me on Twitter. Put it that way, and that's a shoot. You guys could go check it out and follow it. This is Dana White. Look it up. He follows me on Twitter. I follow him, and it's not because I'm just incredible. Because we have mutual respect for one another. The UFC game, they charge $100 for a fight. UFC, if they do it 4 times a year, they could charge $49.99. They're okay because they put on one of the best professional wrestling cards in a long, long time, guys. It was definitely better than WrestleMania because guess what? I was online after WrestleMania. I had the conventions doing the metal when they were at the Meadowlands. I was doing the whole circuit. Jax, you remember that?
Yeah.
The energy was not, of course, WrestleMania is always going to have great energy. I'm not dissing WrestleMania at all, but this is a whole new deal. And maybe it's because AEW, look, maybe AEW gets a pass because it is so refreshing. But man, shots fired, dude. Shit's changed, and it's refreshing, and it's wonderful, and I'm just glad that we get to choose. Like, if fans like sports entertainment, They like what the WWE, the PG audience, they love that stuff. Good. Watch it. Enjoy it. It's awesome. And I love it too. I love the WWE. I'm not going to lie. I love the WWE product. And those guys, dude, those athletes work as hard as they ever worked.
Oh, yeah.
They really do. Like
nobody's saying that they don't.
They kill
the problem is that they're held back by the brass.
And that's a creative thing. That's again, that's a creative thing that they don't have a choice of.
But now here, let me ask you this. Okay. AEW 6 months from now, AEW is running full time. Whatever. Do you see just a heavy rotation of guys, or do you see a 5, 6, 7 guys that are consistently just going to always be at the top of the card? And it's going to turn into every other promotion.
It's going to turn into every other promotion. That's what I was going to say. And you're right. And that's a great observation, Jax. You're right. It is going to be every other promotion because that's how it is. That's just the nature of the beast when you're trying to get guys over and blah, blah,
right.
blah.
But the whole premise of AEW was that you're bringing us people that we wouldn't normally see. You definitely won't see in WWE. Okay. All these top guys from around the world, around the country, around the world, in their own respective promotions or whatever, that have all been brought into this one place. So now, how with 4 pay-per-views a year and 1 weekly TV show, do you showcase 150 guys? How do you do it?
You're not. You're gonna. That's where this is gonna get real interesting.
So now AEW. So what is it? Is Tony Khan replacing Eric Bischoff as Mr. ATM or whatever the hell it was?
No, I certainly hope not. I don't
Rock Scully down.
No, I certainly hope not, dude. I don't know.
I don't want to see people that could be prospering somewhere else. Getting paid to ride the bench at AEW.
I don't
that's
think
bullshit.
I really don't think that's going to be the case. I really believe, and I think that's why. And again, I could be being maybe I'm a mark for believing this, but I think that's why a lot of AEW guys are able to wrestle elsewhere, unlike the other independents were like popular indies, where you could still kind of do some angles and like still stay over, but you know what I mean, and do some shit in AEW where you know what I mean, like kind of ride both waves. I'd hate to think, from my feel of it, and again, I don't know very much. I have no insight. I've not talked to any insider, by the way, guys. I don't want to say that I did. I have not talked to anybody inside the game. This is just me perception, my perspective. But I don't think that's where they want to go, dude. I just think Cody, and I'm putting a lot on Cody, which first of all, I don't know Cody from Adam. I've never met him. Dustin and I were really good friends, really, really good friends. And you'll hear more about it in my new book that I'm writing, which, is interesting. But nonetheless, I don't know Cody at all. I knew the old man. I worked with him in ECW, Dusty. But Cody, he's got a great grasp on this business. And I just hope that I think he really has the best in mind for pro wrestling. Maybe I'm being naive, but you have to be. You have to be. Oh my God! I almost called myself. I was going to say you have to be a dreamer, and I did not mean it to go like that. I really didn't. Oh wow! But you do. You have to dream, dude. And I think he really has an idea of that independent spirit of independent wrestling with Japan. And this is all, if you really watch all of Cody's stuff and the stuff he's booking today, it's really Japan oriented. Like after Double or Nothing, they had the whole, after an NBA game or a Major League Baseball game or a football game, like the press, like in Japan, like with the wrestlers, when I wrestled in Japan, you had press and you had to literally, like after you got off of your match, you'd have to go do press, and they'd ask you a bunch of questions. In a work environment, you'd have to just try to toe the storyline. And he's trying to do that. If you watched any of those, Jeff?
I'm sorry. Can you repeat that?
Oh no! Like after what AEW is doing is very similar to Japan. Like they're literally like after your match, like they're doing the behind, like almost like an NW or NBA game.
Oh yeah, like a post game show type deal.
Yeah, like a real press conference, you know. And that's what they like. When I was in Japan, they would do that. They would ask you like, I'd get out of the ring, like towel off and shit, and then you go backstage, and they'd be like, you know, ask
immediately
like,
to the press box. Yeah.
But that's like real, you know, you see what I'm saying? That's like the real sports shit. Like that's the difference. Like they're trying to make it out like a real sport. So it's fresh, you know, it's not like that sports entertainment shit. It's like, this is a real sport. Like they're almost saying like, look, we're going at it spot for spot, hitting hard, treat it like a sport. Like I almost want to think like maybe a year or two from now, the interviewers could say, "Oh, you stiffed them on that spot. What did you think of that?" You know, seriously, like, are we going that route? Are we going that route? You know, who knows? But it's certainly neat because you know what? ESPN sports writers are there, Sports Illustrated guys are there. I know because I read their columns that they were in that scrum after Double or Nothing. So that's pretty fucking cool, and that's something WWE just doesn't do.
Well, speaking of something that WWE doesn't do, this whole StarCast thing, man. Hopefully, maybe one day we can be a part of it. But if that day doesn't come, it's not going to hurt my feelings either way.
Oh, we're going to be at the next StarCast.
Well,
we're doing
anyway.
No, we're doing the next. We're doing all out. Trust me, I'm already working.
We're crashing. We're crashing the party.
Yeah.
All right. So at any rate, what I enjoy about StarCast, you know, it's kind of, think about it like WrestleMania Access, right? And, you know, every WWE show, if you pay enough, there's the opportunity there for you to do a little meet and greet or whatever, you know. But the only time that they really, really do something like that is Access. And I think that if AEW continues to work with Conrad Thompson, doing StarCast for every big show like that, that's going to be huge for a lot of people in the wrestling business that, you know, aren't in the wrestling business. You know what I'm saying?
I do. Yeah, I mean, this is it's what it's become, dude. Conrad has become a monster in the pro wrestling podcast world, and it's just new possibilities, and that's why you know, you and I do what we do. And even though we're in the infancy stages of our podcast, we're just, you know, not just we, I mean, we, the people that do podcasts and other people on the outside looking in that aren't necessarily the pro wrestling game. This is going to be, you know, the next 5 to 10 years are going to be amazing as far as like new stuff that we've never imagined in the business because of technology, because of social media, because of just what's available to us. And you match that with our love of pro wrestling and just documenting that. It's just, it's super cool. And I think Conrad, he was way ahead of the curve, and he's a good dude. I love him, and he's doing great stuff. And
self-made millionaire.
Fuck, I'm jealous.
Crazy. Oh, yeah.
Well, hey, Jackson, it's our time, mother. It's our time, brother. Anyway,
yes, sir. Yes, sir.
We just got to figure out our niche. But yeah, dude, there's a couple other things we've been going for a little bit. But there's a couple other things. What did you that I want to ask you personally? What did you think of the commentary from Alex Marvez, Excalibur, and JR? And also, because we're running low on time, the Cody Rhodes throne gimmick when he smashed, you know, the quote unquote Triple H throne.
I think we already really touched on, you know, the commentary deal, and you know where I stand, and I know where you stand, as far as JR being top dog, taking nothing away from Excalibur or. God, I can't even remember the other guy's name, but
Alex Marvez.
You know, I thought that they were a great team. 3-man booth is always a little rough. Yeah. But I think that if they are to stick with it, they're only going to get better the more they work with each other. So that's all I can really say about that. JR is the ultimate storyteller. Without JR behind the microphone, I don't think that you would be having the same perception of some of the matches that we do,
No, he dude. And honestly, half of it last night, when I was watching it last night, and again, I watched it on tape delay. That's why I'm saying last night. Well, whatever. We're doing tape delay. But when I watched it, it was like I was literally, JR makes you, he puts you in that. I mean, he invests you in such a way where he's just as important, at least to me in my pro wrestling experience. And I had texted him and he actually liked my tweet about something like that, about how wonderful it was to hear his voice. And he put it over, but because he just invests me so much where he makes it real for me. And of course, we all know it's not real, but that storyline, and especially going on, again, I'm looking at my notes right here, like the Dustin and Cody thing. It's like he really went into detailed stuff about Cody and Dustin, stuff I didn't know. Dustin and Cody had different mothers. Dustin was the father. They had different mothers. I didn't know that. Jim Ross is giving me all this detail, right? Just, again, in my mind as a mark, as a fan, just like everybody else that's listening to the podcast, listening to this, like, oh shit, like putting information in my brain, manipulating in his own way and telling this wonderful story of these two brothers. And wow, again, I cried, dude. I couldn't hold it. I cried. Like, it was emotional for me because I made my life on this business 26 years, and this crazy business. I made a living on it. I almost get choked up talking about it right now. I love this business, and Jim Ross is the reason. He brings those in-ring stories to life. It was just super cool. So I'm just glad we at least have this option in the game. Again, I don't want WWE to suffer. I want them to make as much money as they can. I want AEW to make as much money as they can. I just want them to challenge each other creatively and give the boys in the business and the fans more choice, more opportunity, and help. Let's all fucking get paychecks. And you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Why not? Seriously. So that's my end stand. So let's wrap.
Well,
go ahead. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Why do you keep doing that, man? You always cut me off.
I didn't mean to cut you off. That's why I stopped.
You ask me a question and then you say, "Okay, let's wrap it up," before I even get to answer.
So
you cocksucker. Will you hold still? I'm gonna come over there and choke you.
Please do. I like that. I like being choked.
I'd pull your hair, but
Yeah, I don't know.
As far as him crushing the throne, I mean, what more can you say about that? The symbolism was there, plain as day. Crushing the throne, meaning they're gonna crush WWE in all aspects. And you know what? They're never gonna put them out of business. You know that, but I think that even though they're not gonna go head to head, the competition is there now. Now Vince knows, hey, well, I better fucking do something because these guys can jump ship anytime now.
Yeah, well, that's what, to me, that's the biggest gain. Like you said, WWE is never going to go anywhere, ever going to go anywhere. They're always going to be there. And I want them to. I don't think anybody wants WWE to go away. That's not what we're saying. But what it allows is the men and women that are employed by WWE, it allows a freedom. I mean, and we'll get into this maybe in the next podcast. I'd actually really like to talk about it. how hard it was for a lot of us when WCW went out of business, when ECW and WCW went out of business. How many people suffered financially? Quite frankly, why I'm in the financial place I'm in, which is not very good. And I'm not just the only one. So it has a lot of repercussions, and maybe that'd be pretty cool to do a podcast around, just talk about the finances and like what the guys and gals make or didn't make. What's most important for me is, now what the WWE has done is, for a long time, nobody was able to make a living. And what AEW brings, like nobody wants AEW to take over WWE. We all want WWE to succeed and AEW. But what it gives is people like myself and hundreds of other guys in the business who paid their dues and just to make a living. And we paid the ultimate price in 2001 when WWE bought out WCW and ECW. That changed the game for a lot of us. And Dave Meltzer talks about it all the time. That was the day that pro wrestling died, and he says it on his podcast and in his sheets. And it really felt that way. And right now wrestling is making a resurgence. So I just simply hope that, and maybe we could talk about this in a future podcast, Jax, about that, because I think it's worth noting. But, more work for pro wrestlers is where it's at, because, what we do is awesome. And I think we're entertaining fans now more at an unbelievable level than ever before. And I think we should all note that and appreciate that. And, I think it's a great thing for our business. It's what we love. It's what we do,
Awesome Kong is back. What do you got to say about that?
I watched it. Wow. I mean, she is just the charisma, the eyes behind that whole deal, dude. She's just a mean motherfucker. She don't play. And she's a physical specimen, and she's so talented. And I've met her a couple times, and she's actually, and not to kill her gimmick, but she's actually a sweetheart, and she just loves the business of pro wrestling. That loves what we love, which it makes her all more endearing to me. But she loves what we do, and she has so much respect for the game. But she just has such a way of connecting with fans, and she's just such a badass. She's such a amazing physical specimen. She's just a fucking beast. And again, I don't want to, nowadays in this progressive society, I'm afraid to say beast, because that might imply some negative connotation. No, she's just a badass motherfucker that'll kill. She'd kill me in the ring. And, I'm just so glad to see her. And I don't know how much more. From what I understand, from what I gather, I think this was like one-off. I don't think she plans on doing much more in the business. But it was just a great flashback of how great she really was, and it was great to see her, because obviously she still has a place in our hearts. And
I don't know. She definitely adds credibility to the
no doubt.
Women's roster there, and she's a huge. They all these names get brought up with the women's revolution, evolution, whatever the hell you want to call it. But I mean, if you really think about it, like Awesome Kong, Gail Kim, these are names that don't get brought up a lot, and without them, there would be no women's evolution. I don't think.
I actually agree with you on that. Gail Kim, especially, she's somebody that flies under the radar. I don't know a lot about Gail's work, to be totally frank with you, but I knew she was very instrumental in the Impact TNA era, and I have seen a bunch of her stuff, and she is very highly regarded. I just listened to the guys and the gals, and but Awesome Kong, man. Proof. I mean, this girl was no joke, and I know she is not really, from what I've heard, not interested in doing more. This was more of a one-off, but what a shame, because this is, she's what it's about. She was just such a killer, and so great. It was just great to see. It was like one of those great moments. And I think we'll be seeing that more and more too with women in AEW and in wrestling in general. Because if you think about it, man, we could bring guys back from 20, 30 years ago. But if you think female wrestlers really haven't had that opportunity to have legends come back, because it's fairly really new to feature women the way they've been featured. So I think we're really just starting now to realize in the game, like, you know, and appreciate, and rightfully so, of course, like how amazing these women are and the impact they've made in the game. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. What about Jericho and Omega? I mean, what a match.
Yeah, I mean, dude, it was they went about 30 something minutes. You know, Jericho won, and a lot of people didn't think Jericho was going to go over, but he won clean. It was a really stiff match. I mean, they beat. He
was looking kind of thick.
Jericho was, right, a little bit. I don't want to talk shit. I know, because I'm fat.
I can. We're not friends. I can't.
I'm fat, so I can't talk. But yeah, Jericho was looking a little heavy in the midsection. But
no, it wasn't even that. He overall looked thick, like top to bottom, not just the midsection. I mean, it did not look like Jericho. It looked like Jericho ate Jericho.
Well, I'm not going to get into that, because I'll be blasted all over the internet.
I'm already blackballed. It don't matter.
Yeah, well, anyways, I'm fat, so I can't talk. But yeah, he was a little heavy. I noticed that too. I did notice that. But it was a great match. They beat the fuck out of each other, dude. They really beat the fuck out of each other. I think Chris broke Kenny's nose early on.
Oh yeah,
he broke his nose with a boot. And not on purpose. I don't think, obviously, I don't think that would happen. But Chris hit him pretty good in the nose, so his nose was busted open early. But it was a great fucking match. And but what was more interesting was, like, as they're going off the air, and this is something I want to talk about. Dusty Rhodes booking, right? And again, where Cody gets it. You know, Jericho wins, the heel wins. Here comes Jon Moxley. I didn't expect that. Dude, I was watching the show. I really didn't expect it. I didn't even think about it, to be honest. A lot of people were talking about CM Punk. And
that's not going to fucking happen.
I don't know anything else, but man, money talks, bullshit walks, kid. But you know, but anyways, when that happened, dude, when I saw that happen, I was like, that's when this shit got real. That's when, like, the Monday Night Wars began. Like, back, you know, it's like you just have somebody who WWE let go. Think about it. They let him go, and they gave him a hero's send-off. Like, oh.
Well, he refused to resign, and that wasn't.
Oh, I know, but but normally when people refuse to sign, like, they don't put them on TV, they don't push them, they push him.
They job him out.
They literally gave him like a hero's send off, like, oh, Dean Ambrose's last time with the Shield, really? Yeah. And you're pushing this, and now this scumbag fucking goes and fucking just takes it on you.
But I don't know. Maybe that's WWE leaning into the reality.
Look,
era, I guess, you know.
At the end of the day, it doesn't hurt either company. It just helps the business. It helps the business. Look, WWE doesn't have to be. Look, they're going to always win. It doesn't. Nobody has to fight. Nobody has to fucking sit there and douche one another. But dude, even if WWE helped Dean Ambrose get over in AEW, maybe somebody in AEW will help WWE. You know what I mean? Like, when they go over. Like, this is the Wild West right now. This is what's so exciting, is we really are at a renaissance period in pro wrestling. Like, because, dude, TNT, this is the home of the NBA. Like, I know you're not a fan, but I am. I watch the NBA on TNT. Dude, it's a big deal. And to have the commentators like Charles Barkley and the other gentleman, Marv Albert, and those guys talking about, you know, AEW on their broadcast, which they did the last game. It's a big fucking deal, dude. That's like you're getting into major sports, and that's like a gimmick that WWE doesn't do. So it's just like is just cool. again, it's a different kind of gimmick. So, look, we don't have to fight. We just have to fucking make the best fucking pro wrestling in the world, and just let's all have fun. Let's all get fucking paid, and we could all talk about it on this fucking beautiful podcast. Fuck, seriously, it's a great time, dude. Great time to have a podcast. Great time to be a pro wrestler. My fat ass is getting in shape right now. I'm coming back. If Dreamer could be in the Battle Royal, I could be in the Battle Royal. And that's a shoot, because I'm in 10 times better shape than Dreamer.
Uh-oh.
Yes. Oh, no, I did say it. And Tommy will agree. I was just with Sandman. Did you see those pictures?
I did.
Dude, I saw him I flew from Hartford to Chicago, right? I didn't even know he was there. And then all of a sudden, literally, I had my back to him. He just grabs me, turns me around. I thought I was getting jacked up in the airport. And he held me so hard that he pulled his chin into my fucking bottom tooth, and I had bad teeth. I thought he knocked out my tooth. Yo, kid.
Oh, man.
I love you. Oh, yeah. Gotta love
That's great.
Gotta love
great.
That.
Speaking of Sandman, so what's up? When's he coming on the podcast?
Anytime we want. I think we should make him the next guest after we throw out MVP. Anytime.
I think we do have a couple of people in the works right now. Local. I don't know. Not so much local. He's getting out there now. JT Dunn.
Yeah.
And then another friend of ours, Bobby Ocean.
Yeah, definitely, dude.
Yeah.
We have a ton of people getting ready, and anytime, man. I'd love to have all these guys, and JT is going to be amazing, and I can't wait to talk to Bobby Ocean. It's going to be cool. Very cool.
Listen, guys, every show that I am at with PJ, if Bobby Ocean is there, it turns into a 3-hour conversation every time, and you can't get away from it. You get sucked in. I mean, this guy, the knowledge in his head, he's a younger guy. What is he? Maybe early 30s?
He's got to be 34, 35, but he's one of the
early mid-30s.
Yeah,
he is so freaking guys. Smart, dude. So smart.
Actually, now that you said that, you just kind of put something in my head. I think we should make Bobby Ocean, honestly, the next one on the podcast, because that would be the most fascinating one we could do, honestly, because we always talk nonstop, because he is so great to talk to, and he's such an amazing, first of all, an amazing human being, but an amazing pro wrestler, first and foremost for the fans to hear. And I think it would be really educational and really cool for everybody. So I'd love to do Bobby Ocean next. It'd be really cool.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. We will make that happen for you guys. Listen, don't forget to follow us on Twitter at I Hate This Pods. That's PODS. We're now on Facebook. Check us out. I Hate This Podcast on Facebook. I'll be throwing up links to, I'm trying to get our YouTube stuff going. As of right now, Rob Patillo's episode is up on YouTube. So check that out, guys. For those of you that don't use iTunes, Stitcher, Spotify, Google, whatever. Okay. And, follow PJ on Twitter at PJ Polacco. You can follow me on Twitter at the Jack Stevens. That wraps us up, man.
Yeah, man, it's been a great episode. I really enjoyed talking to you, dude. It's been a while. We haven't talked in about 10 days, but it's been really cool as always. And I'm just really happy that we got to share this time. I mean, this is a really exciting time in pro wrestling, dude, with all this AEW stuff. And next week we're going to actually talk about what the response to WWE, because Raw's happening as we record this episode. We don't know what's going on, but as we're recording this, Raw is probably shooting some fucking some smoke at AEW right now. So
probably
we'll be talking about it next week on the podcast. So anyways, Jax, thank you so much, brother. I couldn't do this without you. I love you with all my heart. Thank you. Guys, thank you so much. This is just incredible hardcore icon. Jack Stevens, thank you so much, brother. I love you. Sign us out.
That wraps us up, guys. We'll see you next week. Hey, bonus, actually, before we forget, because it seems like you guys forgot. You need to get out there on iTunes, smash that subscribe button, leave us a 5-star rating and review.
Definitely.
We're still trying to give away this T-shirt, but you guys must not want it. I don't know what the deal is. I guess you guys don't want free shit.
Yeah, dude,
I'll keep it for myself.
Dude, check it out, man. Anytime. Please check us out. Subscribe to us on iTunes. Give us a 5-star review. Like Jackson said, you hit him up. We'll throw you a free T-shirt from ProWrestlingTees.com. I don't care if I have to pay for it myself. It's worth it. We want your business. We want you to listen to the podcast. So
well, now don't get it twisted. Listen, guys, we are giving away one free I Hate This Podcast T-shirt. You got to follow the rules. It's real easy. Like, subscribe, share, leave your Twitter handle in the comment or whatever media you choose. Leave your handle in the comment so that when we hit 100, we can pick one at random. But guys, you gotta get that review and rating in for us. It helps so much.
This is my world, my way, my life. And if I gotta do it, I gotta do it right. So everything I want, go ahead and give me that. The girl with me, just know that you ain't getting it back. Yeah, she want a bad boy, and I'm all about my cash, boy. She be all up in the jag, boy. I know that make you mad, boy, but don't make me beat your ass, boy. So don't go there. Your career's like a treadmill. You're running, but you ain't going nowhere. Me, on the other hand, I can blow 100 stacks and bounce back rubber band. 30 carats here, 100 on the other hand. I do me, I don't worry about another man. I'm way past them, got them playing catch up, and I'll be right there if you ever mess up. I'm coming! Nobody can stop me, nobody can hold me, nobody control me. I'm coming! I'm here to do my thing, I'm here to bring the pain, I'm never ever gonna change. I'm coming! Nobody can stop me, nobody can hold me, nobody control me. I'm coming! I'm here to do my thing, I'm here to bring the pain, I'm never ever gonna change. No, yeah, you don't want no problem, you don't want no drama. They don't want none, you know how it is. You know what we do, Jim on the track, Shock on the music, yeah. 1, 2, you hear the clock ticking, tick tock. You about to stop living, tick tock. I want you to remember me, tick tock. But the